Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So, one of the great things about Commander is that there are so many different perspectives and so many different ways that people like to play Commander. And yeah, you can kind of see that just by looking at the popular builds today. In the past week, what are the most exciting Commanders out there that players are building decks around? Which ones do I want to build around? And which ones will I never build around? And what's in between that? I'm going to be giving you my perspective and why on each of these. Big credit to Benjamin Levin from Commander's Herald for the concept of this kind of an episode, where Benjamin has ranked, like, fun to not fun kind of Commanders, or, ones that they want to build as well. So anyways, let's jump into this with my own episode on popular Commanders recently, starting off with Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls. This one's got 1,406 decks in the past week. That is a ton. Yeah, this is making a lot of waves in Commander. A 4/4 Elder Demon Flying Ward, pay 2 life for 4 mana in Rakdos. Whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a counter on Valgavoth, Hero of Souls. You have to say it like that every time, and draw a card. So this is a Commander where it really encourages Group Slug. And I'm going to spoil a little bit early. Not that I'm against Group Slug. I am most definitely not. But this is like Group Slug, but just value engine, kind of. Like, if I'm going to go Group Slug, it's going to be a bit different than this. Like, I'd prefer like a Mogus, like just punish people. You're not necessarily gaining advantage for punishing people. This one is... It is interesting. Like, it is a bit too straightforward in my opinion, though. It's like, okay, just get out, any kind of thing in the battlefield that just does like 1 damage or 1 loss of life to each opponent on each turn, basically. That's basically all you need to do. And then you've got, okay, my card draw engine set up. I draw 3 cards with every trooper on the table, and I get 3 counters on this, and yeah, I can make it into a 3-shot, maybe even a 2-shot or a 1-shot KO Commander quite quickly with double strike and that kind of stuff. I think just because I like things to just be a little more complex than this. Not that you can't make it complex, but I feel like it's pretty like, yeah, just go do that. Go get those things that hurt your opponents on each of their turns. That's it. And then all of a sudden you're set up. So I don't find this one to be all that interesting personally, but that's just me. And I know plenty of players out there really find this one to be interesting, but that's just me. I probably won't build. It's not a will never build. It's not like I am not touching this thing ever. No, this is like, you know what? I could maybe build around it someday and be like, oh, I found this way that I want to actually build around it where it's a little bit different, but we shall see. Next up, speaking of different, Amatu Veil Piercer. 1,179 decks to its name. Good enough for second place right now for the decks that are being built in the past week. Amatu Veil Piercer, a 2/4 human wizard for 4 mana in Esper. Beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 2. Each enchantment card in your hand has Miracle. Its Miracle cost is equal to its mana cost, reduced by 4. This is an incredibly innovative Commander, in my opinion. First of all, I believe this is the very first Commander to ever mention Miracle, and it's really, really cool. It's a very cool effect, and essentially it is one where you might not realize it if you're maybe a newer player and kind of haven't interacted with Miracle, but Miracle not only is giving you that cost reduction of 4, but also it's helping you break timing restrictions. Again, if you draw a card in an opponent's turn and it's an enchantment, congratulations. If it's your first card, congratulations. You get that Miracle cost reduced by 4, and you can cast it right then and there, even though that enchantment doesn't have flash, or if you don't have, like, Vidalcan Aureate or whatnot, you can cast it on opponent's turn. So basically, with each trip on the table, you can save up to 16 mana, and you can cast things at flash speed. It's really, really cool. So I do think, and top of the deck, manipulation kind of things are always fun to build around for me, at least. I like that. So this is a want to build. This is a very cool concept to me. It is something that, again, isn't just like you're going to see the exact same build with every single player out there. There's going to be players that work on that top deck manipulation a bit more. There's players that are going to really focus on, like, okay, big, giant enchantments. There's other ones that are going to be like, okay, like, make sure I can interact at the right time, on an opponent's turn with an enchantment that I usually wouldn't be able to play at that time. Maybe an aura, etc., etc. So I do think this is a pretty cool Commander. One that, yeah, I think I would be pretty excited to build around. Moving on, Uro the Tiger Shadow, not a new Commander, one that has been quite potent and, yeah, potentially salt-inducing as well. 843 decks last week, which is crazy again that Uro has had this much staying power. A 1/3 human ninja for 3 mana in Dimir, but you're gonna basically never pay that. You're just gonna Commander Ninjutsu this out for just 2 mana in Dimir. Whenever a ninja you control deals con with your player, reveal the top card of your library, put that card in your hand. Each opponent loses life, you'll that card's mana value. this is a very quick, very brutal commander. When it comes to cheating on commander attacks, yeah, it's hard to beat Uro the Tiger Shadow, and commander attacks is a rule for a reason, because it's incredibly broken when you can do that. So I think just like typically in the past, you know, when I was a bit younger in my commander career, I mean, I built Golos, and I love Golos. I think Golos is a little bit of a different beast, but I typically don't build around like the most powerful commanders out there and like have those as like mainstays for my decks typically, and Uro doesn't really appeal to me all that much. I did talk about, you know, top deck manipulation, obviously the previous commander. This one just like a different level of like, you're just trying to top deck manipulate just to get the highest mana value thing on top so you can drain your opponents for a ton and win super early. I don't like have like an avenue that I'd want to build around this one, like in a different direction. So I think this one is like a will never build. And it's probably just like also one that it's been around this long and I have never had the desire to build around it. So I probably will never get the desire to build around it. So there you go. Next up, Marina Vervell. 828 decks last week to its name. First of all, yeah, guilty. I am a 5-color fanatic. I always have been. And, yeah, I absolutely love 5-color commanders. So, already a leg up for Marina Vervell. A 3/5 human warlock for Wooburg. When it enters, reveal the top 7 cards of your library. Put all enchantment cards from among them in your hand. The rest of them your library in random order. Tap, lock, or unlock a door of target room you control. Activate on sorcery. Now, here's the thing. I don't like, and this is just me, I personally don't like commanders on a track, like on wheels. Basically just like, okay, you have this commander, it works with rooms. Okay, there's only so many rooms out there. Grab all the rooms, chuck them in the deck. I personally don't like when it's like on a track like that, where it's like, okay, you've got limited build space with this one. If you're focusing on that piece, you do not have to focus on that piece at all. You could literally run 0 rooms in the deck and it'd be a great commander still. So I think with my commander build around this one, because again, I don't like just like, okay, I'm kind of pigeonholed to like have to utilize all the room cards if I want to build in that way. I would probably just build it like just Enchantress, essentially, with some ETB focus, because again, on ETB, you are getting a lot of card advantage off the top. So yeah, I probably would skip out on the room theme. I would maybe utilize a couple of really good rooms that might be budget friendly, but other than that, I would ignore rooms, I would ignore that ability, and I would just focus on ETB and it being 5-color Enchantress. And yeah, that sounds kind of fun. This is one that I'm not in love with it, though, to be honest. Even though I am a 5-color, you know, fanatic, I love 5-color, I would not be focusing on this one compared to some of the other ones just in general. It's been one where, like, I thought, again, oh, 5-color commander. Right when I saw it, I was like, oh, 5-color, here we go. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's just okay. Like, it's okay. It's like a solid 5-color Enchantress commander, so there you go. Or rooms if you want to go rooms. And again, over time, we're probably going to get more and more rooms. Maybe, I don't know what other room theme set there will be in the future where they're just like a giant mansion of some sorts or whatnot. But yeah, maybe at some point we'll get more rooms, and when we do, then it's not going to be just like, okay, grab all the rooms and chuck them in there, or like an adventure deck where you're like, okay, there's only so many adventures, so we have to grab them all and chuck them in there. So there you go. Moving on. Zimone Mystery Unraveler. 803 decks last week. A 3/3 human wizard for 4 mana in Simic. Whenever a land you control enters manifest, dread, this is the first time this ability is resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may put a permanent, or turn a permanent you control face up. And again, manifest dread means basically top 2, put one on the battlefield as a 2/2, the other into your graveyard. And you can also flip it over, but like manifest essentially. But you're just going to flip it over at the lands ability essentially with this one. So this is a Simic commander, and I do like when they go different directions with Simic. I absolutely do. I've kind of soured on this one a little bit just because, like, yeah, I've built Landfall in the past. Like, I've done that. I've been there, done that. And, like, Landfall, I'm not saying it's not unfair in Commander, but again, like, you just have an inherent advantage when you're building into lands because, yeah, it's a casual format, and the vast majority of players don't agree with playing mass land destruction. So you're very safe to just be like, okay, my plan is literally just get out all the lands. Sure. Yes, and obviously, you know, getting certain things on top, like brainstorming giant things on top of my library and flipping things over. Absolutely. So there is some interestingness to this one. It is a different kind of Simic commander, which I definitely enjoy that it's a different take on Simic. It's still within the Simic realm, though, of Landfall. And again, since I've done Landfall in the past, like, Tatiovo was one of my first decks that I had on the channel even, and I yeah, I kind of got tired of it pretty quick because it's just like, oh, that's a lot of land value. Okay, yeah, there's no real stopping this, and my turns are taking forever because I'm getting a lot of lands in card draw. This one's a bit different, but still, like, it's one where there's an innovation to it, but I think it's one that I probably won't build. Like, it's not a never build. It's not like, oh, I'm completely against what this commander does. It's just, yeah, I probably won't build it. All right, moving on. We've got Arabella, Abandoned Doll. Oh, skipped it. Never mind. The Dragon. There we go. The Dragon, 728 decks last week. Good enough for, I believe, 6th place. There we go. The Dragon is a 10/10 dragon avatar for 9 mana in Wooburg. Eminence, as long as the command's on the battlefield. Other dragon spells you cast cost 1 to cast. Flying. Whenever one or more dragons control attack, draw that many cards. You may put a permanent card from your hand on the battlefield. Here's the thing with me and tribal commanders. I personally am not a tribal commander fan. I think the only technical tribal deck I really have is kind of like the, Lord's Changeling deck, which is kind of like all tribes, essentially. So I typically don't build tribal because, to me, that, again, is kind of like what I mentioned with Marina with the rooms, where it's like kind of like on rails. Like it is kind of just on rails where it's like, okay, I've got this pool of cards that are dragons. I take the good dragons, I put them in the dragon deck. Yes, or like the good, tribal cards as well in general, like the Kindred Discovery type cards or whatnot. So like, I personally don't like that aspect of, deck building when it is a bit more on rails, essentially. It just depends, obviously, it depends, but with that as well, with this one especially, I also am a big hater of Eminence. I do not like Eminence. It really is something that irks me because it's basically like you start with a free ley line in play that your opponents can't interact with. And it's just like, okay, you get free value for doing absolutely nothing. I personally don't like that. I think it was a design mistake by Wizards. They've, held off on doing Eminence for a long time until, the Knight Commander, basically. But yeah, it is something that I don't personally like. If I was going to build around this, I'd be like, okay, I need to take it like in a different weird direction where it's like changelings, but like that's been done before with this one as well. And there's only so many changelings out there. So again, it's kind of on rails in a different way. So I think overall, this is one where, again, it's been around for a long time for a couple of different reasons. It's one that I will probably never build. Will never build. I'm just going to put it in will never build. I'm never going to build around it. There you go. All right. Arabella, Abandoned Doll. 702 decks last week to its name. Good enough for 7th place. A 1/3 Ledge Artifact Creature Toy for 2 mana in Boros. Whenever it attacks, deals X damage each opponent. You gain X life for X number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. Not to spoil it, but make sure you go check out my episode on the Golden Pig of Dustborn if you haven't seen it yet. This may be up toward the top. Yeah, this is a commander that I think is very exciting. Again, I love uncommon commanders when they do them right. This is an effect that is like power level uncommon, but it is not an uncommon effect in that it is very unique, very interesting. It's not just copy, paste, a better legendary creature out there, make it slightly worse. It's uncommon. There you go. Wizards has done that plenty of times in the past. I don't like when they do that. Actually make use of your design space, please. I like this design a lot. It is a commander that very much benefits you for being aggressive, going incredibly low to the ground, and it helps you take things in a somewhat, unique direction where you're like, okay, I'm dishing out damage, but also gaining life. So I've got those two different kind of levers to play with this kind of a commander. Get a bunch of shiny creatures out there, swing as much as you can, get maybe some extra attack triggers, maybe some extra combats, maybe some surprising miscellaneous creatures out of nowhere like Secure the Waste right before your turn, to then swing and then just lethally take your opponents out with some damage doublers or something like that. You can do a lot of exciting things with this one. I do like the aggressive nature of this commander, and again, I'm always looking for uncommon commanders that are not just bland and boring and copy paste, and now a worse version of a different one. Moving on. Ren Maw Creaking Nest. 615 decks last week to its name. Good enough for 8th place in the week. 5/5 Menace Reach Scarecrow for 5 mana in Golgari. When it enters and whenever you play a card with 2 or more card types, each player creates a tap 2/2 Blackbird creature token with flying. The tokens are goaded for the rest of the game. I like when commanders go in a unique direction, and I most definitely consider this to be a very unique direction. I mean, it's like thematic and unique, where it's like it works. It works with the card. Again, it's like, okay, cool, yeah, flavor. I've got a Scarecrow, and I'm making birds, and those birds gotta go. They just have to go elsewhere because the Scarecrow is keeping them away from me, essentially, right? They have to go attack. Their angry birds are gonna go elsewhere, but they're gonna stay away from my Scarecrow. But also, yeah, you can do some really cool things with it. Again, It has an ETB on it, but it's a bit tougher to use and abuse in ETB in Golgari because, well, you don't have that many blink effects very much at all. Like a Voyager Staff, Conjurer's Closet, like that's it. But also, you can utilize Feigned Death type effects where it's like, okay, this is going to die. I bring it right back. You can also, again, really lean heavily into, again, when you play a card with 2 or more card types, which, of course, I would probably lean into, like, artifact creature. I think that's probably the easiest route to go, the most beneficial route to go, and the most powerful route that you can take it, where you're like, okay, yeah, I've got a bunch of low-to-the-ground artifact creatures. I play them. Maybe I've got ways to bring them back to my hand after they die. Maybe I sacrifice them, have something like Fecundity in play to just draw a bunch of cards, and then replay them, and have some cost reduction as well. You can do some really cool things with this one, all while giving your opponents an absurd amount of birds that they need to swing at each other, which I think is quite fun and awesome. So yeah, this is definitely one where I'm excited about it and a want to build. Moving on. At the Jolly Balloon Man, 609 decks last week, still going strong, even though this is one that started off before a lot of the other Duskborn commanders because it was revealed early, so a lot of players are like, yeah, this is cool. 9th place, we'll see where I lean on this one, though. It's a 1/4 Human Clown with haste for 3 mana and Boros. Pay 1, tap, create token that you control. That's a copy of another target creature you control, except it's a 1/1 red balloon creature token, just other colors and types. Has flying and haste, sacrifice, be index, ends up, active on sorcery. This is one where okay, this is where I kind of like talk on both sides of my mouth sometimes. It is a unique concept. It is taking Boros in a somewhat different direction that they really haven't had in a way. That being said, one thing that I don't like about certain commanders is that sometimes it's just too easy. And this one, in my opinion, is a commander that's just too easy. I will probably never build this one because, not that you shouldn't, I mean, to be like, okay, I'll just build it, but not in the optimal way. Sure, but like, Village Bellringer. Okay, cool, you win. Like, that's just like what this commander, if you're going to build around it, you probably have Village Bellringer in your deck. And I can't fault you for that at all. It's just like, okay, yeah, so Mana Dorks, Village Bellringer, I win. Or just like Mana Dorks, Village Bellringer, and like a couple of different things like a Panoramaticon and like some other untapped ETB things as well. You got a lot of avenues to victory with that in those ways. I just think that it is a commander that like had some potential, but because it's so easily usable and abusable, I'm actually glad Wizards put that 1 on there for the 1 then tap. But still very easily usable and abusable. I'm not a fan of, personally, I'm not going to be building around it. I don't fault other people for doing it. I'm just not going to be personally building around it. So that's kind of one of the examples of a new commander where I'm just like, no, not for me. Next up, Kalia of the Vast, a 2/2 human cleric with flying for 4 mana in Mardu. Whenever it attacks an opponent, you may put an angel, demon, or dragon creature token or creature card from your hand on the battlefield, tap the attacking that opponent. Hopefully you don't have a creature token in your hand. But yes, being able to cheat out into play one of those 3 creature types. This is one that, again, has been around for a long time. I have not built around it yet. That does not mean I will never build around it. That being said, it is not on the same kind of, it's not the same kind of a commander as like a Yuriko or Dragon, where it's like, okay, like I've seen those for a long time. That's just not in my wheelhouse. This is one that is kind of like adjacent to Ur-Dragon, though, where it's like, okay, it is maybe somewhat tribal, but you can do some weird things with it because it is like 3 different tribes. That's probably how I would build it. Also with Changelings, maybe. It's like on the cusp of like will never build and probably never build, and maybe just because like my will never build is getting pretty full, it's not on the same level as those. So I do think just like my gut says this is like, I can't actually just say I won't ever build around it, but I probably won't. Again, it's really impressive this one is still getting so many decks built around it. Again, years and years and years after this one came out. I believe one of the very first like one of the very first like pre-con commanders out there, if not in the first kind of batch, whatever it was. It's had a lot of staying power though. 604 decks with same 10th place. Moving on, 569 decks last week. 11th place, we've got Bellow Bard of the Brambles from Bloomborough. Lots of bees there. 3/3 Raccoon Bard for 3 mana in Gruul. During your turn, each non-equipment artifact and non-aura enchantment you control with mana value 4 or greater is a 4/4 elemental creature and other types and has indestructible haste, and whenever this creature is combined to a player, draw a card. This is one that when I first saw, I was like, no, like, nah. But then it started to grow on me a little bit. It definitely did, where it's like, okay. At first, I was like, you know what? Couldn't they just have made it where it's like the mana value doesn't matter and it's like power and toughness is just equal to its mana value? Like, so I can just cheat out a bunch of really low to the ground artifacts essentially and then just swing with a bunch of tiny 2/2s or whatnot and find other ways to pump. I kind of understand where they went with this one, where it does make it a bit more unique, where it's like, okay, you need to focus this deck on mana value 4 or greater. I would probably do, again, artifacts, because those are easier to use and abuse, essentially. So having some artifact reduction, getting just a bunch of mana rocks in play that cost 4 or more, having fun in that way. Yeah, I do think that this is one where, again, at first I was like, no, it's probably like a probably won't build. Like, not like definitely not. But, like, this one now I think has become more of, like, a might build to me. Like, there is some interesting aspects to it. I think you do some pretty cool things with it. Next up, Sauron the Dark Lord. 568 decks last week. Good enough for 12th place. A good amount of staying power for this one from Lord of the Rings. 7/6 Avatar for 6 mana in Grixis. Ward, sacrifice a Ledger artifact or Ledger creature. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, Mass Orcs 1. Whenever an army you control deals combat to a player, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand if you draw 4 cards. A lot is going on with this one. And yeah, when I'm saying like build this one, like it more so is like build it and actually play it in person, right? Like build it, get the cards, go to the shop, play it. Is this one that I'd want to actually play in person with other players versus just like conceptually build around it? I don't think I'd actually want to. It's not a definitely not. It's not like a nah, not for me. It is one that you can do some interesting things with. People go in different directions with this one. I personally would probably really utilize that Amass Orcs 1. Again, like focus on opponents casting spells. Kind of like, what's that one that makes spiders whenever opponents cast like instant sorceries? Like that kind of way. The problem is with Amass is that you're going up versus going wide, which is, it's worse. It just is worse. Making one army and then making it larger and larger and larger, who cares? It can be chump blocked, whatever. What I would do with it, though, is more so like, oh, okay, yeah, you played a spell. Cool, I've got my Impact Tremors in play, whatever it is. It pings everyone, and then you're going to play another spell. All right, while that's on the stack or whatever, or while before my thing resolves, I will sacrifice my army to my free sacrifice Outlet Viserys or whatever, get value out of it, and then I get another one. So I would keep getting more and more and more. Yeah, I mean, the army, like, ring tempting you, like, I'd probably maybe have some ways to, like, the ring tempt you just to, like, draw some cards, that kind of stuff, but, like, overall, there are some interesting things that you can do with it. It's just not my cup of tea, personally. Like, I would never be like, hey, okay, I just want a giant army that I can swing with. Like, that's great for some players out there. It's just not the direction that I would want to take it, and I wouldn't do a full thematic Lord of the Rings, like, everything that the ring can tempt you kind of cards. It's not really my cup of tea. So I think that I'd mostly probably just be utilizing the, hey, every time you cast a spell, I get a creature kind of thing. That's kind of how I would go about it. And then sacrifice them for value. So I think this is like a probably won't build. It's definitely not. It's one that like does pique my interest, like again, design-wise and like way I could build around it. But like, I don't think I'd actually want to play that in person probably. So there you go. Next up, the Wise Moth Man. 568 decks last week to its name, 13th place. 3/3 Insect Mutant with Flying. Whenever it enters or attacks, each player gets a rad counter. Whenever one or more non-land cards are milled, put a counter on each of up to X star creatures, X number of non-land card milled this way. Here's the thing, I'm personally not a player who really enjoys mill decks all that much. Like, I enjoy self-mill a lot more than I enjoy mill. Like, I have built self-mill in the past. I find that a bit more interesting. Like, I understand, like, the challenge of milling out your opponents. It's not something that I really want to have as my game plan to win, though, personally. So, the Wise Mothman, just because of that, not that it can't be built in other directions, but, like, that's basically what you're probably going to be building around it. It's probably a never build for me. I'm sorry, mill fans out there. It's just not my cup of tea. Next up. 14th place, 561 decks last week to its name. 4/4 Dinosaur for 5 mana and 9. That's Pantlaza Lazy Pants. Sun favored. When Lazy Pants or another dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you may discover X that creature's toughness. Deals only once each turn. It's kind of like Dinosaur Cascade in a way. And yeah, again, if you were paying attention earlier when I was talking about the Ur Dragon, I'm not really that big of a fan of just like tribal deck. You know, like just like tribal on rails. Like get all the best dinosaurs, chuck them in the deck. There you go. Have some, blink effects as well. There you go. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. Like, if I was to build around it, it'd probably be more of a degenerate type deck where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm just utilizing this basically as ETB, Cascade, hit something that I'm guaranteed to hit every single time, do crazy thing. Like, I mean, that's just, build a couple other decks like that. But that, again, also isn't one that where I typically like to maybe build those, and then I end up not playing them all that much sometimes because it's like, oh, players don't want to play against me doing the exact same thing over and over again sometimes. So there you go. Pantlaza, Lazy Pants, I'm sorry, you are probably, just because of all these factors, a will never build. Moving on. Ms. Bumbleflower, 15th place, 505 558 decks last week to its name. A 1/5 Rabid Citizen with Vigilance for 4 mana in Bant. Whenever you cast a spell, target opponent draws a card, put a counter on target creature, gains flying until end of turn. The second time this ability is resolved this turn, you draw 2 cards. Not you may draw 2 cards. This is a commander where I'm not a fan of just straight up group hug. I'm not a fan of just, okay, I king make that player, they win. Cool. Like, I'm not a fan of just sitting back and being like, okay, I don't care about winning myself. I'm going to have you all have more fun by getting more cards. And I personally don't think that for some playgroups, that's less fun for playgroups when you just have one player being like, I don't care about winning and I'm just trying to, give extra things to the table. It depends on the playgroup, of course. So with this kind of a commander, I would probably build it. And again, like, I'm also not the player who just wants to combo off and win very quickly. But I do think that there are some interesting builds around this one where, like, again, this is a commander where you can show it as a group hug type commander, but then it's like secret combo win. And again, only for groups that are actually okay with that. But yeah, and not like a, quick, easy combo, but like a janky, convoluted, absolutely terrible combo that would see no play in any deck out there except for this one, where you've got like Retraction Helixes, those creatures that untap whenever you cast a specific thing, and then like Ornithopter. Like that kind of like weird combo I'm all about for the right playgroup. I do think that is an interesting one. This is one where, again, like, how often would I be playing it? Because like there's only so many people that are okay with like that kind of a game. So I'm gonna go with a might build for this one. It's interesting, it's intriguing, but like it's not fully there compared to the ones that are up and want to build. So there you go. Moving on, this one's pretty quick for me. 16th place, 548 decks last week. Nebusar, the Mind Razor, again, a commander that's had a lot of staying power over time. A 2/4 zombie wizard for 5 mana in Grixis. Beginning of each player's draw set, the player draws additional card. When an opponent draws a card, 1 damage to that player. Yeah, this is most definitely a want to build. Just kidding. This is a I will never build. So nothing against Nebusar fans out there. Again, it is a commander that's been around forever. I've never built around it, and I probably won't build around it. I'm going to say will never build around it because it's not my type of commander. It's not my type of commander because the way that you win with this one, basically, not exclusively, but basically is just, okay, I wheel. Cool, that's game. Yeah, it's not exactly the type of deck that I really want to actually build around. And from what I've seen in my experience of playing against wheel decks, yeah, it's not something that I really want for myself or my play group when it comes to just, oh, okay, everyone had a plan. The plan's gone. Your plan is gone. Everything is gone. Try again. And, oh, I hit another wheel, but what did you all hit? Oh, okay, nothing good. All right, let's try it again. By the way, you're getting punished every single time I'm doing this. Yeah, it's just something that's been done before, and it's just not my personal cup of tea. It's not something that my player group I don't think would enjoy playing with or against, so there you go. Next up, Atraxa Praetor's Voice. 540 decks last week. 17th place, 4/4, Angel for 4 mana, every color but red, flying vigilance, death touch, lifelink, beginning of end step, proliferate. So this is a commander that, again, has been, well, around for a long, long time. Been on top of the charts for a long time again now. This thing, I mean, has been, I think, first place ever since Golos got banned, basically, I believe. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong on that one, though. But yeah, been around for a long, long time. I have never had a deck built around Atraxa, even though, unlike other commanders that are, again, kind of on rails, like this one has a lot of possibilities. Again, you can go ++1 counters. You can go -1/-1 counters. You can go planeswalkers. You can go poison. You can go a lot of different directions. So it's a commander that, again, like, it's not on the power level, in my opinion, where it's like, okay, I don't want to build it because it's like pushed to the point where it's like obnoxious, like, no offense Tulane fans out there, but like a Tulane. But it's not, it's just not the kind of commander that I really like. If I want to build around a different one of those themes, I'll build a more focused commander on one of those themes, typically. So I think overall, Atraxa, I don't think you're like a will never build. I think you're probably won't build. I won't actually just say like, no, because maybe there's something that happens in the future where it's like, ooh, okay, this new effect came out, or this new card came out, and I really need to get extra counters on it, and maybe I'll use this commander, which can give me access to a lot of different cards, then get extra counters on it, then maybe I build around it, so there you go. Next up, Krenko Mob Boss, 533 decks to its name, 18th place, 3/3 Goblin Warrior for 4 mana in red. Tap, put X 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens on the battlefield, X number of goblins you control. This is another one that, again, has been around for a long, long, long time. This is one that has had so much staying power. I believe it is the only commander in like out of the, I think the past 2 years numbers on EDH Rec for most popular commanders. It's the only commander that is a monocolor commander, I believe, out of the top 20. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, this is a commander that is very straightforward. It's like, I make goblins. What do you do again? I make goblins. What do you do next turn? I'm making goblins. That's literally what you are doing. So yeah, this is a commander where I do think that it is very straightforward. Again, I'm not a fan, like I've said before, of just, I personally don't build tribal decks really because again, they're kind of on rails. It's like grab the best goblins, chuck them in the deck. I think this one's a little bit different because the way I would personally build around it is mostly threat effects actually. I'd be like, okay, there's only so many ways to untap Krenko. If you were in blue or white, yeah, you've got plenty of ways to untap. In red, you only really have one, and that is called threaten effects, which the threaten ones that are specifically like untap a creature, gain control of it, not the ones that say untap a creature and opponent controls. Wizards, stop, stopping everyone's fun with that kind of stuff, all right? Let me untap my own creatures with threaten effects. Why not? But yes, being able to just cast a 3-mana spell to untap Krenko to tap it again to make like 10 plus goblins, yeah, that's worth it. So this is one where, again, it's been around a long time. It's very straightforward. I'm not always a fan of the most straightforward decks, but yeah, it is one where I'm definitely not a will never build. I'm probably not up to a might build. It's still a probably won't build at this time, but you never know. I could have a Krenko deck running around at some point. Moving on, 517 decks to its name, 19th place, Balum the Haymaker, 4/3 Rabbit Warrior for 3 mana in Naya, tap 2 and tap tokens you control, add 1 mana of any color, tap 3 and tap tokens you control, draw a card, tap 4 and tap tokens you control, 3 counters on Balin against Trimpleton of turn. This is one of those commanders where it's like, Wizards, you just kind of push things a bit too far sometimes, where it's not the most overpowered thing we've ever seen. But it is like they just slapped on a bunch of things. They're like, oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, no real restrictions on it. And again, I'm against like over-restricting a card. My least favorite words in Magic are probably like activate only as a sorcery or triggers only once each turn. Those are like two of my least favorite things in Magic cards for the most part. There are certain times when it's needed, but they overuse it. This one, though, is just like, no. Okay, like, we're taking the token commander. All right, what do Magic players like? Okay, ramp. Yeah, ramp. Okay, card draw. Cool. And then, like, throw something else on there. Cool, yeah, cool. You can win, like, a Voltron win, too. Okay, why not? This is just, like, I mean, the most effective way to build it is just make a bunch of miscellaneous tokens very efficiently, and then just have them be your mana rocks, kind of, essentially, right? So just, like, literally make a ton. Okay, then you've got more mana. Okay, you can make even more. Oh, okay, like, have a way to untap them, probably. Cool, untap them, and then draw a bunch of cards. It's just a bit too pushed, in my opinion, so therefore, it is probably one that I personally will never build. So there you go. And then finally, 506 decks last week to its name, 20th place. We've got the Necro Bloom. 2/7 plant for 4 mana, and yeah, it's 4 mana and some really good colors up there. We've got 1 white, black, and a green. We have a lot of fantastic cards that can work well with, well, yet another landfall commander. There you go. Whenever a land is battlefield under control, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 more lands of different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. Land cards in your graveyard have dredge 2. So being able to essentially utilize, well, again, you're in landfall. You've got green, of course. Yes, you do. Being able to actually get a ton of lands into play, that's great. Being able to punish your opponents with zombies or plants or whatever they are, you've got plenty of ways to do so in these colors as well, because it's kind of like landfall meets, well, maybe aristocrats potentially, and then also giving your lands in your graveyard dredge is a very cool thing. So being able to do all of that, yeah, you've got a good recipe. It is a very powerful commander. I don't think it's like just like they tossed everything at it though, like a Balin. Maybe some people would disagree with that, and that's completely fine. But it is one that it does take things in an interesting direction for landfall, at least when it's kind of like, okay, you're making tokens. It changes it up at a certain point, though, potentially, because you got to build around like the different lands with different names. You could kind of solve that pretty quickly and pretty easily, though, with like snow-covered lands. So there you go. That being said, like the other aspect of like, okay, lands in your graveyard have dredge too. That's very, very cool, because there's only one land, I believe, in the history of Magic that actually just has dredge too. Is that Darkmoor Salvage, I believe? Darkmoor Salvage, whatever it is. But yeah, I think this is one that's like, it is interesting. It's a bit, again, I'm off on the landfall for the most part. It's not one that I'd say I would never build around, but it's like, it's a probably won't build for me. It's like, it's interesting. I see what they're doing there. It's pretty cool. And I think I've soured on it a little bit over time, where I was more excited about to start. But I do think it has some interesting points to it. Maybe at some point I would build around it. But yeah, this is my list overall. I think I feel pretty good about, again, want to builds, might builds, probably won't builds, and will never builds. I think this is probably a good representation of the past, commanders, the last week most popular commanders, and where my thoughts are on them right now, just on my personal, what I might build. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, what you would want to build around right now. Are you building around any of these right now? What other commanders are you excited about right now? And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.